Welcome to the Sex After Kids podcast, a place for parents to come and learn together about the sometimes bumpy road back into the saddle of their sex life after adoption, birth, or joining a blended family. I'm your host, Sophia Ashley, certified sex educator and sex coach, mother and stepmother, and your totally TMI guide to becoming BFFs with your body and initiating easy and connected and confident, naked, sexy fun times. Here we are, one part science of sex, one part mindfulness magic, and one part straight up real talk to help you find the spark in yourself and your relationship after kids. I'm so glad you're here. Hey friends, welcome to another episode of the Sex After Kids podcast. Today, I want to do a quickie episode on dispelling one of the biggest mistakes that I see people making when it comes to solving their sex life after kids. It is insidious. We see it play out in the media everywhere and in a lot of so-called advice for our sex lives. What is that mistake? Well, that mistake is falling into the trap of blaming your partner or blaming yourself for the sexual stalemate in your relationship after children. I'll say that again. The mistake is blaming yourself. So that's the I'm broken, something's wrong with me. I just needed to get it together line of thinking. Or there's the blaming your partner, which is the I wish they just had magic fingers. Why don't they know how to touch my body? They come too quickly. This whole thing is dissatisfying and it's all their fault kind of thinking. These are two sides of the same coin, and they ignore the very thing that makes sex sex. It's relational. Let's take a look quickly at how this typically plays out, right? Have you ever thought one or more of these things? Maybe you've thought, my vagina or body is broken since having a baby, and once I get that fixed, we'll be good to go. Maybe you've thought, oh, once I lose those 10 pounds and feel sexy again, everything will be fixed. Or maybe you've thought, as soon as my libido comes back from menopause or perimenopause or Hashimoto's or whatever it is, we'll be back rolling in the hay. Once my partner figures out how to last longer, our sex life will be fantastic and everything will be perfect. Maybe if they just knew how to touch me the right way, then the sex would be so much better and this would all go away. If they just stopped the boob grab to say they wanted sex, then everything would be fixed. Or if I could just get out of my head during sex and really enjoy myself, sex would be better. That one might not be entirely untrue. Once my stress levels go down, once this, once that, once I get more comfortable with coming out of the closet, or once I get more comfortable in my new body post surgery and transition, I'll be able to relax more. Do you see the theme here, friends? There's a theme of magical thinking where we imagine some kind of block or hurdle, and we imagine that things will magically become better on the other side of the mountain that we made up or imagined. There is a sense that one or both of you is broken, and if that other person just did the work, things would suddenly be better. Magically. We're going to say magically a lot this episode. Now, if something is not working in your sex life, then someone does have to do something about it for it to improve. And there are definitely times when one person may need to resolve something more or less on their own. An example of that might be changing your medication or birth control choice to shift your libido, or resolving some pelvic floor pain, scar tissue from tearing. other things like that. And I'm not saying that no work needs to be done. And I'm not saying that all your challenges are imagined here. That's not the point. The point is that we have an idea of creating this obstacle and that everything will be magically better once the obstacle's removed. What I want to argue here is that in general, when we play the blame game, we lose. We lose because I know that tackling challenges together makes the process faster and more effective. And it also helps you build the one thing you're craving in the process, and that is connection. Let me explain. So, what we know is that tackling a challenge together is one of the best ways to create a bond. And if we take the example of I'm a woman struggling to orgasm since having kids. I've lost a lot of sensation in my vagina. What used to work for me doesn't anymore. And my husband is trying his same old bag of tricks without success. And every time we try, I struggle to give feedback, and he struggles to come up with new ideas or ask for what I want. And even when he does ask, I don't know what to say. And we just end up frustrated. There's a growing sense of disconnection between us. Like sex has become this wedge that rather than bringing us together, is pushing us apart. It would be very easy in this scenario for me to get wrapped up as the person with the vagina in this story, to get wrapped up in one of two narratives. And that narrative might be I'm broken, nothing works anymore until I get back to normal. We will be stuck here and he will be unhappy. Or the other narrative might be why can't he figure me out what is wrong with him or what is wrong with my partner, right? So the blame can be on them or on myself. And likewise, my partner could get stuck in what is wrong with her. She's broken. Her body doesn't work anymore. And I don't know how to figure this out. She needs to go to some therapy and get fixed because I can't play with this anymore. The equipment's broken. Or the narrative could be I suck. Why can't I figure out my partner's body out? I used to be able to play my partner like a violin, and now my fingers are just useless, right? In either case, in this scenario, both people are lost in their own heads, in their own insecurities, in their own projections. And if one of us shared either of these perspectives, we'd be lining up for hurt, blame, defensiveness, and likely not a very pretty or productive conversation. The reason this topic is so important to me today is because, by and large, we have problematized the libidos of people with uteruses, especially after kids and in long-term relationships. So it's somehow wrong or defective or bad to be the person with less libido in a relationship, largely because we've compared the baseline of libido to a male body's libido. And there's this undercurrent of toxic messaging in all of these thoughts, from expectations that my partner should be able to magically read my mind and body and be a five-star lover, to expectations that I'm some kind of sex machine plaything for my partner to enjoy. Ask yourself deep down what great expectations might be underneath the blame game that you're playing, whether it's pointed at yourself or at your partner. I saw this in my coaching all the time. Women coming to me to be fixed so they could continue to provide sex for their man. Underneath was a desire to please their partner, but also a notion more deeply than that, that sex was just for their male partner. Their pleasure and desire had nothing to do with it. Now, there's a lot we could unpack here about gender scripts and how we learn about sex, and we'll save that for another episode. But I just wanted to touch on why what we're talking about today matters, okay? Just like we aren't going to solve violence against women without engaging men in the solution, we are not going to solve our sex lives without engaging our partners. And we certainly aren't going to bridge the orgasm gap, which is the gap between the achievement of orgasm in cis men and women. We aren't going to do that if we don't engage men to be better lovers and partners, and if we don't all learn to be better at lovemaking. So, in our scenario, me and my partner are at this impasse. Maybe I go to coaching to resolve my numbness on my own. Perhaps I work with a pelvic floor physio, or I start to see a somatic coach who helps me to see some of the trauma stored in my vagina and how it's blocking me from truly sensing and responding to the new good feelings that are happening down there. So I am doing this work on my own. But if we continue with the blame game example, I could do a lot of great work with those practitioners and I could experience some healing and I could fix up my vajayjay and come back to my sex life pretty much ready to go. That is not an impossible scenario. And I have worked with clients where that was the solution for them, particularly around trauma. But I want us to imagine, or I'm willing to bet, that if my partner in this scenario also engaged in supporting me with some of that work that I was doing, if my partner also learned how trauma affects my vagina and maybe even his penis, if my partner learned how some of the tools worked to make me feel more safe during sex and help me work and process through any pain or irritation that arised, well, then the magic would really happen. Can you feel the difference in that? On one hand, I'm going the journey alone and coming back fixed to my relationship. And on the other, if we work together, we develop a common language to talk about the problem. Now we're communicating better. We're developing tools together to solve the problem, which means that if it comes back, or if I backslide in my pelvic therapy, or if a new trauma arises, my partner knows how to spot it, name it, and use some tools to deal with it without me having to go back to see those practitioners again. We've learned something together. We've tackled a problem together. There is no faster way to build a bond of connection with anyone. And I feel supported and cared for and invested in through this process in our scenario. I feel like my partner cared about my well being, about my pleasure, and about my sexual experience as well as theirs. This was not just a me go get fixed problem. This was an us against the problem approach. Then we don't have to do the magical thinking because we created the magic in working together, in creating those solutions together. Take any other challenge, swap out whichever of you is experiencing it. And if you take the approach of tackling it as a team instead of playing the blame game, you will see progress. You will see faster progress. You will see deeper progress. You will see more fun and more joy and more connection in the progress. That's my quickie rant for you today. Share it with your partner and let me know what you think on Instagram. I want you to start thinking about how your challenges in the bedroom need to be a us against the problem instead of me against you. Catch you next time.
This is the part where we do the end bit.